I had spent 6 years proving that I was the kind of employee people could trust. I never missed deadlines. I never complained when things got difficult. And whenever my boss needed someone to handle a problem nobody wanted, my name was always the first one mentioned. That person was Evelyn Carter, the CEO of Carter International. To everyone else, she was the definition of an ice queen. Cold, unreachable, impossible to impress. People in the company joked that Evelyn Carter could freeze an entire room just by walking into it. She rarely smiled. She never showed weakness, and she never let anyone get too close. But I knew a side of her that nobody else saw, or at least, I thought I did, because when everyone else left the office late at night, she was the person who quietly placed a coffee on my desk without saying anything. When I worked through weekends, she was the one who noticed. When I got sick, she was the one who left medicine outside my apartment door. She always acted like she didn't care. But somehow, she always cared the most. The problem was she never admitted it. And after 6 years of waiting, I finally decided I couldn't keep hoping for something that might never happen. That was why I was ready to leave. I just never expected her to be the reason I stayed. Ethan, do you have a minute? I looked up from my desk when Daniel from Human Resources appeared beside me. His expression was strange. Not happy, not nervous, something in between. Sure, I said. What happened? He placed a folder on my desk. Congratulations. I frowned. Congratulations for what? He smiled awkwardly. You've been selected for the company's international expansion team. I stared at the folder. International? London branch. I slowly opened it. Inside was a transfer agreement. 3 years. London. A position that most employees would fight for. A promotion. A bigger salary. A chance many people dreamed about. But I didn't feel excited. I felt confused. Who approved this? Daniel hesitated. The executive office. I looked at him. Evelyn. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I walked straight to her office. I didn't knock. Normally, nobody would dare do that. But after 6 years working beside Evelyn Carter, I knew the rules she followed, and I knew the rules she secretly ignored. She looked up from her documents. Her expression remained calm. Ethan. I closed the door behind me. You transferred me to London? She didn't look surprised. Yes. I laughed quietly, not because it was funny, because I didn't know what else to do. You didn't even ask me. Her eyes finally moved toward mine. You would have said no. I froze. That answer bothered me more than the transfer itself. Because you knew I wouldn't want to leave? No. Her voice was soft. Because I knew you would stay even if you didn't want to. I stared at her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I placed the transfer documents on her desk. I'm not going. Her expression changed slightly. Only slightly. But I noticed. After 6 years, I noticed every little thing about her. You're refusing? Yes. Why? I almost laughed again, because how could I explain it? How could I tell the woman sitting in front of me that the reason I didn't want to leave had nothing to do with the job? That the reason I stayed every late night was because of her? That the reason I never accepted another offer was because some foolish part of me hoped she would eventually see me differently? Instead, I said, because I don't want to start over somewhere else. She looked at me carefully. Ethan, yes, you're angry. I'm not angry. You are. Her voice became quieter. You're hurt. That caught me off guard because she was right, and I hated that she could see through me so easily. I just don't understand, I said. After 6 years, you make a decision about my life without talking to me. Her fingers tightened slightly around her pen, a tiny movement, almost invisible. But I saw it. I was trying to help you by sending me halfway across the world. Yes. Why? She looked away. For the first time, she didn't have an immediate answer. That scared me more than anything, because Evelyn Carter always had an answer. Finally, she said, because you deserve more than being stuck here. I stared at her. Stuck? Yes. Working beside you is being stuck. The second those words left my mouth, her expression changed. Something flickered in her eyes. Regret, pain, maybe even fear. But then the wall came back. The Ice Queen returned. You need a bigger future. Ethan, I nodded slowly. So that's what this is? What? You're pushing me away because you think it's better for me. She didn't answer, and that silence hurt. I picked up the folder. Fine? Her eyes lifted. Fine. Yes. I forced a smile. I'll go. For the first time, Evelyn looked genuinely shocked. You just said you wouldn't. I changed my mind. Why? I looked at her because I wanted her to stop me, because a small part of me was still waiting for her to say something. Anything, but she didn't. So I said the only thing I could. Maybe you're right. I turned toward the door. Maybe I do need a new future. I reached for the handle. Then I heard her voice. Quiet, almost desperate. Ethan. I stopped. I waited. For 6 years. I waited for her. Maybe this was the moment. Maybe she would finally say something real. I turned around. What? She looked at me. For a second, Evelyn Carter wasn't the CEO. She was just a woman who looked like she was afraid of losing someone. But then she looked away. Nothing. That one word broke something inside me. I nodded. Goodbye, Evelyn. I walked out, and I didn't see the way she watched me leave. I didn't see her hand slowly close around the corner of my resignation request. I didn't see the expression on her face after the door closed. Because if I had stayed for 5 more seconds, I would have heard the words she whispered to herself. Words nobody in the company had ever heard. I didn't send him away because I don't need him. I sent him away because I'm afraid I need him too much. I thought leaving would be simple. At least, that was what I told myself. Pack my things, finish my remaining work, fly to London, start over, a clean break, a new life. That was what everyone expected from me. But nobody knew that leaving Carter International felt less like a career move and more like walking away from the one person who had quietly become the center of my world. Evelyn Carter, the woman who never showed emotions, the woman who could negotiate million-dollar deals without changing her expression, the woman who could make an entire meeting room silent with one look. And somehow, she was also the same woman who remembered how I took my coffee. No sugar, a little extra cream. She remembered that, but she never remembered to tell me how she felt. Maybe that was why I finally gave up. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. My desk was almost empty. 6 years of work had been reduced to a few boxes, a few books, a coffee mug, some documents. It was strange how a person could spend so much time somewhere and still be able to pack their entire life into a cardboard box. Leaving already? I looked up. My coworker Ryan stood beside my desk. He looked at the boxes, then at me. So it's true. I nodded. London. He frowned. That's insane. What? You're the last person I thought Evelyn would send away. I stopped packing. What do you mean? Ryan looked confused. Everyone knows you're her most trusted person. That doesn't mean anything. Are you serious? I looked at him. Ryan lowered his voice. Ethan, she rejects everyone's suggestions. She ignores half the executives in this company. But when you speak, she listens. I smiled slightly. She listens because I'm doing my job. Ryan shook his head. No, she listens because it's you. I didn't answer because I wanted to believe him, but believing something like that was dangerous, especially when Evelyn herself had never said anything. At 10 o'clock, everyone received a company-wide meeting notification. Emergency executive announcement. The entire office immediately became busy. People started guessing. A merger? A new project? A major change? I didn't care. I had already accepted that my future was somewhere else. I grabbed my notebook and walked into the conference room. A few minutes later, Evelyn entered. The room instantly became quiet. She looked exactly like she always did. Perfect suit, calm expression, cold confidence. Nobody would believe that yesterday. Behind a closed door, she had looked almost afraid. She stood at the front. I called this meeting because there is an update regarding the overseas transfer program. I looked down. So this was it, the official announcement. My final goodbye. Evelyn opened the folder in her hand. Then she said, the London transfer has been canceled. The entire room froze. I looked up. For a second, I thought I heard wrong. Someone behind me whispered, cancel. Evelyn continued, effective immediately. Ethan Miller will remain with the headquarters team. My heart stopped. Everyone looked at me. I looked at her. She didn't look away. Not this time. Ms. Carter. One executive said carefully, may I ask why the decision was changed? Evelyn's expression remained calm, but her answer shocked everyone. Because I changed my mind. Silence. The executive looked uncomfortable, but the London position was created specifically for Mr. Miller. Yes, and the board approved it. Yes, then why cancel it? Evelyn placed the folder down because sending him away was a mistake. Nobody spoke. I couldn't move because Evelyn Carter didn't admit mistakes. Not publicly, not ever, but she just did. For me, after the meeting ended, people immediately surrounded me. Ethan, what happened? Did you know about this? Did you convince her? I shook my head. No. And that was the truth. I had no idea. I had spent the entire night thinking I was leaving. I never imagined she would stop me. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Evelyn. Come to my office. Now. Asterisk, asterisk. My heart beat faster. I walked upstairs. When I entered, she was standing near the window. She didn't turn around. You're angry with me. It wasn't a question. I closed the door. Yes. She nodded. I expected that. Then why did you do it? She turned. Her eyes met mine. Because I realized something. What? Her voice softened. Yesterday, when you said goodbye, she paused. For once, she seemed unsure. I thought I was prepared. I frowned. Prepared for what? For you to leave. The room became quiet. I didn't know what to say. Evelyn walked toward her desk. I thought giving you a better opportunity was the right thing. She looked at me, but I swallowed, but I didn't want it. Her eyes moved slightly. Why? There it was, the question I had avoided, the one I had buried for years, because answering it meant risking everything. I looked at her, because not everything is about opportunity. She stayed silent. Sometimes, I continued, someone matters more than the place. For the first time, Evelyn looked affected, not professionally, personally. Ethan, I laughed softly. You know what hurt the most? She didn't speak. You made a huge decision about my life, but you never asked what I wanted. Her fingers tightened. I was afraid. I froze. Afraid? Yes, that word coming from Evelyn Carter felt impossible. Of what? She looked away. Of keeping you somewhere you didn't belong. I stared at her. Evelyn, she looked back. You really think I stayed here for 6 years because I had nowhere else to go? Her expression changed. A small crack appeared in the wall she had built. Then why? I opened my mouth. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to finally say everything. But fear stopped me. Because what if she didn't feel the same? What if I destroyed the only relationship I had with her? So instead, I said, because this company needed me. She looked disappointed, only for a second, but I saw it, and I hated myself for causing it. A moment later, she walked around the desk. She stopped in front of me, too close. Close enough that I could see she wasn't as cold as everyone believed. Ethan. Yes, I canceled your transfer. I know. No. She looked directly at me. You don't understand. I stayed quiet. Her voice became softer. I didn't cancel it because the company needs you. My heartbeat changed. I canceled it because she stopped. The words seemed difficult. For Evelyn Carter, the strongest woman I knew. Those words were harder than any business negotiation. Finally, she whispered, because I don't want you to leave. I looked at her, and for the first time in 6 years, I wondered if maybe I had been wrong. Maybe the Ice Queen wasn't pushing me away. Maybe she had been fighting herself all along. Before I could answer, there was a knock on the door. The moment disappeared. Evelyn stepped back. The cold expression returned. Colleen. An assistant entered. Ms. Carter, the board members are requesting an explanation for canceling the transfer. Evelyn nodded. Tell them I'll handle it. The assistant left. I looked at her. You're going to have problems because of me. She shook her head. No, Evelyn, I made the decision. Her eyes met mine, and I'll deal with the consequences. Then she added quietly, but there is one thing I won't do again. What? She looked at me. I won't make choices for you. That was the moment I realized something. The woman everyone called an Ice Queen was finally learning how to love someone. And somehow, I was the person she chose. For the first time in 6 years, I saw Evelyn Carter lose control. Not completely. Nobody else would have noticed. To everyone around her, she was still the same woman. Calm, confident, untouchable. But I noticed, because I had spent years watching her. I noticed the way her fingers tightened when she was nervous. I noticed the way she looked away when she wanted to hide something. And yesterday, when she told me she didn't want me to leave, that was the first time I saw the real Evelyn. Not the CEO. Not the Ice Queen, just Evelyn, a woman who was afraid of losing someone. The problem was, I didn't know what to do with that, because for years, I had wanted to hear those words, but now that I finally heard them, I was scared. The next few days were strange. Everyone in the company knew something had changed. Nobody knew exactly what, but they felt it. Before, Evelyn and I had a professional relationship. She gave orders. I followed them. Simple, clear, safe. Now, things were different. She would walk past my desk and stop. Did you eat lunch? The first time she asked, I thought I misunderstood. I looked up. So, her expression immediately became serious. I asked if you ate lunch. I blinked. Yes. When? About an hour ago. With who? You said here. With myself? For a second, she looked almost embarrassed. Then she nodded. Good. And she walked away. I watched her leave. Ryan appeared beside me. What was that? I looked at him. What? Evelyn Carter just checked if you ate lunch. So, he stared at me. Do you understand how impossible that sentence sounds? I laughed. But inside, I knew exactly why it felt strange. Because Evelyn had never cared openly. Not before. A week later, I received an email. Not from Carter International. From another company. A competitor. They had been trying to recruit me for months. Better position. Higher salary. More freedom. Normally, I would have ignored it. But after everything that happened with Evelyn, I started thinking, maybe I needed to create some distance. Because staying close to her while pretending I felt nothing was becoming harder. I accepted the interview. I didn't tell anyone, especially not Evelyn. I told myself it was just an interview. Nothing serious. But somehow, she found out. Of course she did. Ethan. I looked up from my computer. Evelyn stood beside my desk. Her expression was unreadable. Yes. Do you have a meeting tomorrow? I checked my schedule. Yes. With whom? I paused. Why? Answer the question. Her tone was firm. The old Evelyn appeared again. I closed my laptop. An interview. The moment I said it, something changed, very slightly, but I saw it. An interview? Yes. With another company? Yes. She was quiet, too quiet. I waited. Finally, she asked, "Why?" I almost smiled. "Why does it matter?" Her eyes moved to mine. "It matters." "Why?" She didn't answer, and that bothered me, because it was the same thing she had done for years. She cared, but she refused to admit it. I stood up. "Evelyn, yes, you can't stop me from leaving just because you finally realized you don't want me gone." Her expression froze. I immediately regretted saying it, but it was true. She looked away. "You think that's what I'm doing?" "I don't know." My voice softened. "That's the problem." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said something I never expected. "Are you leaving because of me?" I froze. "What? Are you looking for another job because you think staying here is too difficult?" I looked at her. The question wasn't angry. It was scared, and that changed everything. "Evelyn," she looked down. "I know I made mistakes." That sentence shocked me, because Evelyn Carter didn't apologize easily. I spent years believing that protecting someone meant making decisions for them. She looked back at me, but I was wrong. I stayed silent. "I thought sending you overseas would give you a better future." Her voice became quieter, but maybe I was only trying to convince myself that I could let you go. My heart skipped. "Evelyn," she stepped closer. "Tell me the truth." "What? If you leave?" She paused. "Will you be happier?" I didn't answer immediately, because I realized something. She wasn't asking as my boss. She was asking as someone who cared. "No." Her eyes lifted. "No." I shook my head. "No." "Then why?" I looked at her. "Because I thought you didn't need me." Her expression changed. "Ethan, I spent years thinking I was just your employee. You are more than that." The answer came so quickly that I almost missed it. "You said here." She seemed to realize what she had said. For once, she looked nervous. "You are." She stopped. I waited. "You are someone I trust." I smiled slightly. "Only someone you trust?" Her cheeks changed slightly. Almost impossible to notice. But I noticed. "Evelyn Carter, yes, you're terrible at expressing your feelings." She looked away. "I know." I laughed. And surprisingly, she smiled. A real smile. Not the polite one she used during meetings. A real one. For a moment, I forgot she was my CEO. That evening, I was preparing to leave the office when my phone rang. It was Evelyn. I stared at the screen. She had never called me after work. I answered. "Hello." There was silence. Then, "Are you busy?" I smiled. "No." "Good." Another pause. Then she said, "I need your help." "With what?" "I need someone to have dinner with me." I froze. "Dinner?" "Yes." "With you?" "Yes." I couldn't help smiling. "Are you asking me out?" A long silence. Then, "I'm asking my most trusted employee to have dinner." I laughed. "That's not what I asked." Silence again. Then I heard something I never expected. A small sigh. "Ethan." "Yes, please." That single word almost made me drop the phone, because Evelyn Carter didn't ask. She commanded. She negotiated. She decided. But she never pleaded. Not until now. "Okay. Okay. Yes. Good." Another pause. Then, softer. "Thank you." I looked at my phone after the call ended, and for the first time, I understood. The woman who could control an entire company was completely lost when it came to me. The next evening, I arrived at the restaurant. I expected Evelyn to appear in a perfect business outfit. I expected the CEO. Instead, I saw a woman wearing a simple dress. No assistant, no company phone, no cold expression. Just Evelyn. She walked toward me. "You're early. You're different." She looked surprised. "Different?" "Yes." "How?" I smiled. "You look like someone who actually knows how to relax." She looked away. "I don't do this often." "Dinner?" "No." She looked at me, being myself. That answer stayed with me, because I finally understood. Evelyn Carter wasn't cold. She was just alone for too long. And somehow, she had decided to stop hiding from me. But what neither of us knew was someone else was about to enter the picture. Someone who would make Evelyn realize one thing. She wasn't the only person afraid of losing me. I never thought I would see Evelyn Carter jealous. Not because she didn't have emotions. I knew she did. I had seen the small moments. The way she quietly worried when I worked too late. The way she remembered details about my life nobody else cared about. The way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. But jealousy? That was something I never imagined. Evelyn Carter was the kind of woman who could walk into a room full of powerful people and make everyone else nervous. She didn't compete. She didn't chase. She didn't need to. People came to her, not the other way around. But that changed the day someone else started showing interest in me. After dinner with Evelyn, things between us became different. Not officially. We still didn't talk about feelings. We still acted like nothing had changed when we were at work. But everything had changed before. I always felt like I was standing outside a locked door. Now, the door was slightly open, and I could finally see the person behind it. Sometimes she would send me messages after work. Did you get home safely? Sometimes she would ask about my plans. Are you free this weekend? The first time she asked, I stared at my phone for almost a minute, because this was Evelyn Carter, the woman who once canceled an entire meeting because she was too busy. Now she was asking if I had time to get coffee. Ryan noticed immediately. You're smiling. I looked up. No, I'm not. You are. I'm reading an email. You've been staring at the same email for 30 seconds. I closed my phone. It's nothing. Ryan laughed. Ethan, I have worked here for 4 years. I have never seen Evelyn smile at anyone. She smiles. No, she does. Not like that. I frowned. Like what? Ryan pointed at my phone. Like she actually cares. I didn't answer, because maybe he was right. The problem was, not everyone was happy about the change, especially people who had always believed Evelyn Carter belonged to their world. One of those people was Alexander Reed, the CEO of Reed Holdings. He had worked with Evelyn for years. Rich, confident, charming, the type of man everyone expected Evelyn to marry someday. And he knew it. That was the problem. I first noticed something was different during a company event. I was standing near the entrance when Alexander walked toward Evelyn. Evelyn. She turned. Alexander. He smiled. You look beautiful tonight. Her expression didn't change. Thank you. I almost laughed. Anyone else would have been nervous, but Alexander didn't seem affected. His eyes moved toward me. And you must be Ethan. I nodded. Yes. He smiled. I've heard a lot about you. I raised an eyebrow. Hopefully good things. Mostly. I noticed Evelyn's expression change slightly. Alexander. He ignored her. I'm surprised. About what? That someone as talented as you hasn't moved higher. Before I could answer, Evelyn spoke. Ethan's position is exactly where I need him. The tone of her voice changed. Cold, sharp, protective. Alexander noticed too. So, you personally decide his position? Yes. There was a pause. Then Alexander smiled. Interesting. I knew that smile. It wasn't friendly. Later that evening, I was talking with another guest. Her name was Claire. She worked with one of Carter International's partners. She was funny, easy to talk to, and unlike most people around Evelyn, she didn't act intimidated. We were laughing about a story she told when I noticed something. The room had become quieter. I looked up. Evelyn was standing a few feet away, watching us. Her expression was calm. Too calm. I walked over. Everything okay? Yes. I looked at her. Really? Yes. I smiled. You're a terrible liar. For a second, she almost smiled. Then she looked at Claire. Ethan. Yes. Can I speak with you? Of course. I followed her. When we were away from everyone else, she stopped. What were you two talking about? I blinked. Claire. Yes. I tried not to smile. Are you asking because she's a business partner? Silence. That was enough. I smiled. Evelyn. What? Are you jealous? Her eyes widened slightly. No. Really? No. You're sure? Yes. I crossed my arms. Then why did you interrupt us? I needed to discuss something. With me? Yes. Right now. Yes. I laughed. You were jealous. She looked away. I'm not. Evelyn. What? You are literally standing here trying to convince me you're not jealous. She became quiet. Then, very softly, I don't like the way she looks at you. I stopped smiling, because that answer was honest. Completely honest. You know she was just talking. I know. Then why? She looked at me, and for a moment, the CEO disappeared. Because I know how people see you. I frowned. What do you mean? You're kind. I didn't expect that. You listen to people. She continued. You make them feel important. Her voice lowered. And sometimes I worry someone else will notice before I do. My heart moved. Before you do what? She didn't answer. I stepped closer. Evelyn. She looked at me. Before I realize I'm losing you. That sentence almost broke me. Because this was the woman who once sent me across the world without asking. Now she was afraid of losing me. The next day, something happened that changed everything. A rumor spread through the company. Someone said I was leaving. Again. This time, because I had received another offer. People started talking. Some believed I was abandoning Evelyn. Some believed I was using the company to get better opportunities. I ignored it until I heard someone say, maybe Mr. Miller was never loyal. Maybe he just stayed because of the CEO. I stopped walking. Before I could respond, a voice came from behind me. Repeat that. Everyone froze. Evelyn stood there. Nobody spoke. She looked at the person who made the comment. Repeat what you said. The employee immediately became nervous. Ms. Carter, I didn't mean. No. Her voice was calm, but everyone knew that was more frightening. You questioned Ethan's loyalty. The employee lowered his head. I apologize. Evelyn looked around. Then she said, Ethan Miller has been the person who protected this company when others failed. Silence. He stayed when he had better options. She looked at me, and he stayed without asking for anything in return. My chest tightened because she was defending me, not privately, not secretly, in front of everyone. Then she said the words nobody expected. If anyone believes Ethan's value is based only on his position. She paused. Then they don't understand him at all. The room was silent. I looked at her, and for the first time, I realized something. Evelyn Carter wasn't just afraid of losing me. She was choosing me. That evening, she called me. I owe you an apology. I smiled. For what? For making you feel like you were only an employee. I stayed quiet. She continued. You were never just that. My heart beat faster. Evelyn, I don't know how to do this. Do what? She was silent. Then, let someone matter to me. I sat there quietly, because those words meant more than any confession. Evelyn, yes, I'm not leaving. A long pause. Then I heard her whisper, good. And for the first time, I heard relief in her voice. But what neither of us knew was the biggest challenge was still coming, because the overseas position she canceled wasn't just a transfer. Someone had created it for a reason, and now they wanted me gone more than ever. For the first time in my life, I understood something about Evelyn Carter. The hardest thing about loving a woman like her wasn't her cold personality. It wasn't her reputation. It wasn't even the fact that she was my CEO. The hardest thing was knowing that she had spent her entire life putting responsibility before herself, before happiness, before love, before me. And even after she started letting me see the real her, a part of her still believed she didn't deserve to choose what she wanted. After the incident at the company, things between Evelyn and me became closer. Not suddenly, not dramatically. It was more like small changes, the kind only two people involved would notice. She started asking my opinion before making decisions. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. One afternoon, she called me into her office. I need your opinion. I looked at her. On a business decision? She shook her head. No, that surprised me. Then, she hesitated. On something personal. I put down the documents in my hand. Okay. She looked at me. If you had the chance to start over somewhere else, I listened carefully. Would you do it? The question felt strangely familiar. Almost like she was asking about the transfer again. Why are you asking? Just answer. I thought for a moment. No. Why? Because starting over isn't always better. She watched me. Sometimes staying is the harder choice. Her expression softened. And you would still choose to stay? I smiled. Yes. She looked down, almost like she was trying to hide how much that answer meant. But then everything changed. 3 days later, I found out about the London project. Not from Evelyn, from someone else. I was walking past the executive floor when I heard two managers talking. The London position is back. I stopped. What? They noticed me and immediately became quiet. I looked at them. What did you say? One of them looked uncomfortable. Nothing. No. My voice became serious. What did you say about London? The other manager sighed. Mr. Miller, there's a possibility the overseas expansion project will continue. My heart sank. Continue? Yes. But the transfer was canceled. For now. Those two words bothered me. For now. They exchanged a look. Then one of them said, the board still believes the London position is necessary. I nodded slowly. Does Evelyn know? Neither answered. That was all I needed to know. I went straight to her office. This time, I knocked. Come in. I entered. She looked up. Her expression changed when she saw me. Ethan, London. She froze. For a moment, she said nothing, and that silence told me everything. You knew. She stood up. Ethan, listen, you knew. Her eyes softened. Yes. I laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, because I was disappointed. Why didn't you tell me? I was going to. When? She didn't answer. I looked away. After you made the decision? No. After you decided what was best for me again? Her expression changed. That's not what happened. Then what happened? She walked toward me. The board reopened the discussion. I was handling it. Handling it? Yes. Without telling me? Because I didn't want you to worry. You sat here. And suddenly, I felt like I was back at the beginning, back when she sent me overseas without asking. You still don't understand. She stopped. What? You keep saying you're protecting me. My voice became quieter. But you're still making choices alone. Her eyes showed pain. I was trying to fix it. Fix what? The situation. No. I shook my head. You were trying to decide my life before I had a chance to. Silence. For the first time, Evelyn looked lost. Not angry. Not cold. Lost. I was going to reject it. I looked at her. What? The London proposal. I didn't respond. She continued. I was going to tell the board no. Then why hide it? Her lips parted, but no words came out. Finally, she said, because I was afraid. Again, that word, the word I never expected from her. Afraid of what? She looked at me, afraid that if I told you. She paused. You would think I was selfish. My expression softened. Evelyn, I know how this looks. Her voice became quieter. You gave up opportunities because of me. No. Yes. She looked away, and I was afraid you would regret staying. I stepped closer. Do you really think that? She didn't answer. So I said, Evelyn, do you know why I stayed? Her eyes lifted. Because I believed in you. She froze. Not because of the company. I continued. Not because of the position. Then why? I looked directly at her. Because of you. The room became silent. For years, I had hidden those words, but suddenly, keeping them inside felt impossible. You were the person who noticed when everyone else ignored me. You were the person who trusted me when nobody else did. You were the person who made me want to become better. Her eyes became slightly red, and I paused. I thought maybe one day you would realize I wasn't staying because I had nowhere else to go. She looked at me. Then why were you staying? I smiled because I wanted to be near you. For several seconds, Evelyn didn't move. Then she did something I had never seen before. She looked vulnerable. I'm sorry. Those two words almost shocked me because Evelyn Carter apologized to almost nobody. I should have told you. Yes. I should have trusted you. Yes. She nodded. I'm learning. I smiled slightly. Learning what? How to stop acting like I'm the only person who knows what's best. I laughed softly. That's a big step for you. A tiny smile appeared. I know. Then she walked closer. Not as my boss. Not as the CEO. Just Evelyn. Ethan. Yes, if the board forces this transfer. I waited. What will you do? The old me would have said I didn't know. The old me would have avoided the question. But things were different now. I don't want to leave. Her eyes softened. Because of the company? I shook my head. No. Because of your career? No. Damn. I looked at her. Because of you. She closed her eyes for a second. Like those words hurt and healed her at the same time. Then she whispered, Good. I smiled. Good. Yes. She opened her eyes. Because I don't want to lose you. My heart stopped. There it was. Not a hint. Not a hidden message. A truth. I spent years convincing myself that needing someone was weakness. She looked at me. But losing you. Her voice trembled slightly. That feels worse. I didn't know what to say, so I reached for her hand. For a moment, she looked surprised. Then she held it. But the next morning, everything changed again. A new announcement appeared. The board had approved a final decision. The London transfer would happen. And this time, the order came directly from the chairman, Evelyn's father, the most powerful person in the company. The message was simple. Ethan Miller must leave for London within 2 weeks. I stared at the screen, and then I saw the second message. From Evelyn. Only one sentence. Don't make any decisions until you talk to me. For the first time, I realized something. Evelyn wasn't fighting the transfer anymore. She was fighting for me, and whatever happened next would decide whether we stayed apart or finally chose each other. When I saw the chairman's order, I already knew what it meant. Evelyn Carter had spent her entire life building her reputation. She was the perfect daughter, the perfect CEO, the person who never made emotional decisions. Everyone trusted her because she always put the company first. And now, because of me, she was standing in the middle of a choice nobody expected her to make. The company, or me, the position she had fought years to earn, or the person she was finally admitting she couldn't lose. And the worst part? I knew exactly what she would do. She would choose me, and I hated that. Not because I didn't want her to, but because I knew what it might cost her. I waited for Evelyn in her office. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. She finally arrived, but the moment she walked in, I knew something had changed. Her expression was calm. Too calm. That was how Evelyn looked when she had already made a difficult decision. Ethan. I stood up. What are you going to do? She placed her bag down. The board meeting is tomorrow. That's not an answer. She looked at me. I know. Evelyn. She sighed softly. For once, she didn't avoid the conversation. I'm going to reject the transfer. My heart sank. Because of me? Yes. I closed my eyes. Don't. Her expression changed. Don't what? Don't do this. She stared at me. Do what? Give up something important because of me. Her face became serious. I'm not giving anything up. You are. No. Yes. I stepped closer. Evelyn, this company is your life. She shook her head. No. I froze. No. My life is not this company. The answer surprised me. She continued. For years, I thought it was. Her voice became softer. I thought if I worked harder, achieved more, controlled everything. She paused. I would never have to need anyone. I stayed quiet, but then you appeared. My heart moved. You never cared about my position. She looked at me. You never treated me like I was untouchable. A small smile appeared. You were the only person who would tell me when I was wrong. I smiled. That's because you were usually wrong. She actually laughed. A real laugh. And somehow, that made everything harder, because I didn't want to be the reason she lost everything. Evelyn, yes. If you choose me, she waited. Will you regret it? The question surprised her. No. Even if you lose your position? No. Even if people blame you? No. Even if your father is disappointed? Her expression changed. Only slightly. But I noticed. That was the one thing that hurt her. Her father. Because despite everything, she still wanted his approval. I'm not afraid of disappointing him. She looked away. I'm afraid of disappointing myself. I understood. For years, she had lived according to other people's expectations. Until now. The next day, the board meeting happened. I wasn't supposed to attend, but Evelyn asked me to be there. Not as an employee, as someone who deserved to hear the truth. The room was full. Executives, board members, and at the center, Richard Carter, Evelyn's father. He looked exactly like the kind of person everyone feared. Cold, powerful, unmoving. He looked at me once, then at Evelyn. So, his voice was calm. You're willing to reject a major international opportunity because of one employee? The room became silent. Evelyn didn't move. He is not just an employee. Richard raised an eyebrow. Then what is he? Everyone looked at her. I did too, because this was the moment. The moment where she could choose the safe answer. She could say I was valuable, important, necessary. She could make it about work, but she didn't. He is someone I trust. Her father remained silent. He is someone who stayed when everyone else left. Evelyn continued, and he is someone I don't want to lose. The room changed. Everyone understood, including me. Richard looked at her. You're letting emotion affect your judgment. No. Her answer was immediate. You're wrong. Everyone froze, because nobody spoke to Richard Carter like that, especially not Evelyn. My entire life, I believed emotions made people weak. She looked at him, but the truth is, she paused. Knowing what matters to you is not weakness. Her father's expression hardened. And what matters to you? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Ethan. The room went completely silent. I felt my chest tighten, because she said my name like it was the easiest truth in the world. No hesitation, no fear, no hiding. Richard looked at me, then back at Evelyn. You would risk everything for him? Evelyn shook her head. She smiled slightly. I would stop risking everything because of him. Nobody understood, except me, because I knew what she meant. She wasn't saying I was her weakness. She was saying I reminded her she had something worth protecting. The meeting ended without a final decision, but everyone knew something had changed. Evelyn walked beside me afterward. You're quiet. I looked at her. I'm thinking about how brave you were. She smiled slightly. I was terrified. I stopped walking. You were? Yes. Really? She nodded. I was terrified that if I chose myself for once, she looked at me, I would lose you. My heart softened. Evelyn. Yes, you don't have to fight alone. She looked at me. I know. Then she reached for my hand. Right there, in the hallway, where anyone could see. The woman everyone called the Ice Queen held my hand. That evening, I made a decision, one that hurt, but felt necessary. I wrote my resignation letter, not because I wanted to leave, because I wanted to protect her. If I was gone, the board couldn't use me against her. Her father couldn't question her leadership. The company would have no reason to challenge her. I placed the letter on her desk. Then I left. I didn't wait, because if I waited, I knew I wouldn't have the courage. The next morning, Evelyn called me. Ethan. Her voice was different. What happened? I was silent. Then, I resigned. Silence. A long silence. Why? I closed my eyes, because I don't want you to lose everything because of me. Her voice became quiet. You think I want to keep this company if keeping it means losing you? I couldn't answer. Then she said, Where are you? Evelyn. Where are you? I told her. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. I answered. Hello. Her voice came through. Stay there. I frowned. What? Don't move. Why? A pause. Then, because for once, her voice softened. I'm coming after what I want. The call ended, and I realized something. Evelyn Carter wasn't sending me away anymore. She was coming to bring me back. I had always thought leaving was easier than staying. Leaving meant I didn't have to face difficult conversations. Leaving meant I didn't have to wonder if I was important enough. Leaving meant I could protect the person I cared about by disappearing. At least, that was what I told myself. But when I stood in the airport with my suitcase beside me, I realized something. I wasn't leaving because I wanted a new life. I was leaving because I was afraid. Afraid that Evelyn would choose me and lose everything. Afraid that one day she would regret it. Afraid that I would become the reason the strongest woman I knew finally fell. My flight was in less than an hour. I looked at the departure screen. London, the same destination that started all of this. A few weeks ago, I had been angry because Evelyn tried to send me there without asking. Now I was choosing the same place myself. The difference was, this time, I was running away. Mr. Miller? I turned around. It was one of Evelyn's assistants. I wasn't surprised. Of course she would find me. Is Ms. Carter here? The assistant hesitated. That was all I needed to know. No. I picked up my suitcase. Then tell her thank you. The assistant looked confused. For what? For everything. I forced a smile. And tell her I'm sorry. Before I could walk away, my phone rang. Evelyn. I stared at the screen. For a moment, I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Evelyn. Her breathing was slightly uneven. She had been running. The thought almost made me smile, because I had never imagined Evelyn Carter rushing for anyone. Not for a meeting, not for a deal, not for anyone, except me. Where are you? You know where I am. Silence. Then, don't bored. I looked down. Evelyn, don't. Her voice was different. Not the CEO voice. Not the calm voice. The real one. Please. That word stopped me. I closed my eyes. Why? There was silence. Then she said, because this time, I need you to listen to me. I didn't answer. Ethan. Yes. Do you remember what you said to me? What? You said you stayed because of me. My throat tightened. Yes. Then why are you leaving because of me? I froze, because I had no answer. She continued, you think leaving protects me? Her voice became softer. But it doesn't. Evelyn, no. She interrupted. Let me finish. I stayed silent. For years, everyone made decisions for me. My father decided what kind of person I should become. The board decided what kind of leader I should be. Everyone thought they knew what was best for me. She paused, and I hated it. My hand tightened around my phone. Then I did the same thing to you. Her voice shook slightly. I decided what was best for you. A pause. I sent you away because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that if I asked you to stay. She stopped. Then, you would realize you were staying only because you felt responsible for me. My heart hurt, because she truly believed that. Evelyn. Yes, I never stayed because I felt responsible. Silence. I stayed because I wanted to. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and I saw her, Evelyn Carter, standing in the middle of the airport. No assistant, no business clothes, no perfect CEO appearance. Just her. She had come herself. She lowered her phone. We looked at each other. For a moment, the entire airport disappeared. She walked toward me, slowly, but confidently. The same woman who could face a boardroom full of executives without fear, was now standing in front of me, afraid of my answer. Ethan. I looked at her. You came. Yes. You really came. Yes. A small smile appeared on her face. Did you expect me not to? I laughed quietly. Honestly, yes. I expected you to send someone. She looked almost offended. I wouldn't send someone else. Why? She stared at me. Because I'm not losing you through an assistant. That sentence hit harder than I expected. People walked around us. Some recognized her. Some stared. Nobody mattered. Because Evelyn stepped closer and said, I need to tell you something. I nodded. She took a breath. I was wrong. I blinked. About what? About everything. Her voice became softer. I thought loving someone meant protecting them from difficult choices. She looked at me, but I was wrong. A tear almost appeared in her eyes. Almost. I should have trusted you enough to let you choose me. I didn't speak, because hearing Evelyn admit that meant everything. She continued, I canceled your transfer because I didn't want you to leave. I fought the board because I didn't want you to leave. And when you resigned, her voice cracked slightly. That was the first time I realized I was still trying to control everything. She looked at me, except the one thing I actually cared about. I whispered, what? You. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then I asked the question I had carried for years. Evelyn. Yes. When did you start caring about me? She looked surprised. Then she smiled softly. Do you really want to know? Yes. She looked away for a moment. The first year you worked here. I froze. The first year? Yes. What happened? She smiled. You spilled coffee on my contract before a major meeting. I laughed. I remember that. I thought you were going to panic. I did panic. You apologized 10 times. I smiled. And then you told me something. What? She looked at me. You said, you're allowed to be tired too. You know. I went quiet. I was your CEO. I know. Nobody had ever said that to me. Her voice softened. That was the first time I realized you didn't see me as Evelyn Carter. She stepped closer. You saw me as Evelyn. I didn't know what to say. Because suddenly, all those years made sense. The coffee, the medicine, the late-night messages, the quiet support. She wasn't indifferent. She was just afraid. I should have told you sooner. Yes. She smiled slightly. I know. You made me suffer for years. I know. You're impossible. I know. I laughed. And then she did something that shocked me. She hugged me, right there, in the airport. The woman everyone called cold and untouchable held on to me like she was afraid I would disappear. I'm sorry. I put my arms around her. Evelyn. Yes, I'm not going anywhere. She held me tighter. Promise. Yes. She finally pulled back. Then she looked at my suitcase. So, I raised an eyebrow. So, are you still getting on that plane? I smiled. No, good. Because? She looked at me. Because I canceled your transfer. I laughed. Again? Yes. Can you keep doing that every time I try to leave? Her expression became serious. No. I smiled. Why? Because next time she reached for my hand, I won't ask you to stay as your CEO. She looked directly at me. I'll ask you to stay as the woman who loves you. That was the first time Evelyn Carter said it. Not in a perfect moment, not in a private office, not in some romantic place, but in the middle of an airport, surrounded by strangers, with my flight waiting behind us. I love you, Ethan. And for the first time in years, the Ice Queen wasn't hiding. I used to think love was supposed to feel like a dramatic moment, a perfect confession, a perfect scene, a moment where everything suddenly became clear. But with Evelyn Carter, nothing happened that way. There were no fireworks, no grand gestures, no perfect timing. There was just a woman who spent years hiding her feelings, finally choosing to be honest, and a man who spent years waiting, finally realizing he was never waiting alone. The morning after the airport, I woke up expecting everything to feel different, and it did. Not because I suddenly became someone special, not because my position changed, because I finally knew the truth. Evelyn Carter loved me, the same woman who looked impossible to approach, the same woman everyone feared, the same woman who could make an entire room silent, was the woman who had chased me through an airport because she couldn't let me leave. I still smiled every time I thought about it, especially because nobody at Carter International would believe it. When I arrived at the office, everyone immediately noticed something. Ryan looked at me, then looked behind me, then looked back at me. You're here. I nodded. Yes. He frowned. Not London. No. He stared. Again. I laughed. Yes. Ryan shook his head. I have worked here for years, and I still don't understand what is happening between you and Evelyn Carter. I smiled. Neither do I. He lowered his voice. Wait. He looked at me carefully. Did she really go after you? I didn't answer. That was enough. His eyes widened. No way. I laughed. Keep your voice down. Ethan. Yes. The Ice Queen chased you? I smiled. Apparently. Ryan looked completely shocked. Then he laughed. I knew it. Knew what? She was never cold. I raised an eyebrow. She's terrifying. Yes. Then she was only cold to everyone else. He pointed at me. Not you. I didn't respond, because he was right. When I entered Evelyn's office, she was already working. The old Evelyn was back. Perfect posture. Serious expression. CEO mode. I leaned against the door. Good morning. She looked up for a second. Her expression softened. Then she remembered herself. Good morning. I smiled. That's it. She looked confused. What? After everything yesterday? She looked away. I'm at work. So I'm still your CEO. I walked closer. Are you? She looked at me. Yes, because yesterday you told me you loved me in an airport. Her cheeks changed slightly. Barely, but I saw it. You're enjoying this. A little. She sighed. You're impossible. I smiled. You like that? A pause. Then she quietly said, yes. That answer surprised both of us, because Evelyn Carter didn't pretend anymore. A few hours later, she called an executive meeting. I knew something was different when I entered the room. Everyone was there. The board members, the executives, the senior managers, the same people who had watched Evelyn fight for me. She stood at the front, calm, confident, but this time, she wasn't hiding. I called this meeting to announce a change. Everyone became serious. Evelyn looked at me, then back at everyone. Ethan Miller will remain at headquarters. Nobody looked surprised, but everyone listened. He will no longer be considered part of the overseas transfer program. A pause. He will take over the role of my direct strategic partner. The room became quiet. I looked at her. That was not what I expected. One executive raised his hand. Ms. Carter, may I ask why? Evelyn answered immediately. Because he has earned it. Simple. Direct. No excuses. He has spent 6 years proving his ability. She continued. He has supported this company through difficult situations. Her eyes moved toward me, and he has always been someone I could trust. I felt my chest tighten, because this wasn't about saving me. She wasn't giving me a position because she loved me. She was recognizing me because I deserved it. That mattered. After the meeting, I followed her back to her office. You didn't have to do that. She turned. Do what? Change my position. She smiled slightly. I didn't change your position. What do you mean? I finally gave you the position you should have had. I looked at her. You really believe that? Yes. Why? She walked closer. Because I spent years watching you. I smiled. That sounds a little scary. It should. I laughed. She continued. I watched you help people who couldn't help you. I watched you stay late when nobody asked. I watched you take responsibility for things that weren't yours. Her voice softened. And I watched you leave opportunities behind because you believed in this company. I looked at her. You noticed all that? She looked almost offended. Of course I noticed. I smiled. You noticed everything except your own feelings. She became quiet. Then, that's true. That evening, we finally had the conversation we avoided for years. No CEO, no employee, no taites, just us. Evelyn. Yes, what happens now? She looked at me. What do you mean? I hesitated. We're not just boss and employee anymore. She nodded. I know. Are you worried? She thought for a moment. Yes. That surprised me. Really? Yes. Why? Because I don't want people to think you only succeeded because of me. I smiled. Evelyn. Yes, I spent 6 years proving myself before you ever admitted you cared. She looked at me. I know. So don't worry. I took her hand. I know who I am. Her expression softened. And who am I? I smiled. The woman who finally stopped pushing me away. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she leaned against me. A small gesture. But from Evelyn Carter, it meant everything. Months later, people in the company still talked about the day Evelyn Carter changed. They said the Ice Queen became different. They said she smiled more. They said she finally looked happy. They were right, but they didn't know why. They didn't know about the nights she worried she would lose me. They didn't know about the airport. They didn't know about the transfer order that almost separated us. They didn't know that the woman everyone thought had everything had been missing the one thing she truly wanted. Someone who saw her. Not her money, not her power, not her title, just her. 1 year later, I stood beside Evelyn at the company anniversary celebration. Someone asked her, Ms. Carter, what is the biggest decision you've ever made? Everyone expected her to mention a major acquisition, a business achievement, a career milestone. Instead, she looked at me and smiled. My biggest decision? She held my hand, choosing not to let him leave. The room laughed, but I knew she was serious. Later that night, when we were alone, I asked, do you ever regret canceling my transfer? She looked at me. No, not even once. No. Why? She smiled. Because London would have given you a new career. She stepped closer, but staying gave me a life. I smiled. Evelyn, yes, I think you were never afraid of losing an employee. She looked at me. What was I afraid of? I answered, losing the person who made you feel human. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled. You always understand me. I shook my head. No, I held her hand. I just always tried to. I used to think the biggest opportunities in life came from leaving. A better city, a better job, a better future. But I was wrong. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stay. Not because you're afraid of change. Not because you have nowhere else to go. But because you finally found the place where you belong. And for me, that place was never London. It was always beside Evelyn Carter, the Ice Queen who finally chose me, and the woman I would choose every single time.